Hey everybody, welcome to GGN. Today's Wednesday, November 19th, 2014. This video is mostly about the weather. Most people's attention is on stuff like Black Friday, where they're getting ready to stomp each other and bash each other's brains out for low prices in the spirit of Christmas and giving. Other things are Bill Cosby. This dude is number one in the ratings. Apparently for some acts of rape on his behalf in the past. But I noticed this article over here recently. Then I noticed another article about rape, so I don't know why that's in the news. I guess I'd like to just put it out there, but Ferguson officer accused of raping pregnant inmate. So, and then you have this Oklahoma police officer charged with raping women while on duty. So that's the people who are there to serve and protect you. So I thought it was kind of funny too how someone said, actually it was an article that was posted at InfoWars about the police chief in Ferguson, or one of the cops there, saying, you know, you guys are going to have to protect yourselves, you know, get your guns. And someone wrote a comment, well, when did we ever really expect you to be there to protect us? They won't. And I saw a video yesterday of a teenager who was beaten up and robbed in Minnesota, and he said that he just couldn't believe that it happened in that neighborhood or city that he was in, and he was all bashed up at Staples, and he was like, yeah, well, I'm just going to start walking around with a bat now. So, but yeah, I mean, we all know what cops do. They, for the most part, they protect property, and they protect the monetary system, and they protect people with means. So, just a couple articles I have for you as far as the weather. Most of you are aware that it's pretty freaking cold out there, and there's a lot of snow. The forecast in every state is freezing. So, it goes on, and it says the upper Midwest and Great Lakes may see one of the region's longest ever sub-freezing periods in November, while Buffalo, New York could see 5 feet of snow. And they said it could be, this was yesterday, and they did. So there's pictures out already. You've probably seen them, but it's pretty crazy. A snowball swallowing Buffalo. There's one of them, and here's another. Let's see some other ones there. I guess that's one of their stadiums. So some guy freaking out, I guess. He may have to dig himself out. But says at least 17 people have died in the cold weather since Saturday. Also, I think 5 people have died in New York in the last couple of days. So they're saying this is a record-breaking November as far as cold goes. They also said that it was supposed to warm up on Thursday, and already today, Wednesday, it's starting to warm up a little bit, but usually when you get that warm up, usually snow falls. There's been more than 360 record lows and record cool highs covering 43 states since Sunday, leaving only 5 states, all in New England, that have not experienced record cold temperatures this week. On Wednesday morning, lows were broken or tied from New York to Houston, where record lows and record cool temperatures are possible. And finishing up, high in the teens and 20s will dominate the upper Midwest and Great Lakes through Friday, resulting in what could be one of the longest sub-freezing spells on record for the month of November in parts of that region. That's the crazy thing. Yeah, these temperatures, I was thinking about it yesterday. This is what we had like last January, February, when it was really freaking cold. These daily high temperatures will, in many cases, be colder than the average January highs, let alone mid-November, so that tells you a lot. Okay, so this is more of an update here, I guess, but it says after a brief reprieve Wednesday morning, we expect more sub-zero morning lows Thursday, so it is going to be cold again Thursday and Friday. It goes all the way down to the deep south, Florida, and the east. An article that I wanted to cover, this was back in September 20th, but I never got a chance really to put something together here, so I'll include it in this video. Most Antarctic sea ice ever from September 19th, 2014. It's the 3rd all-time record in a row, whatever the heck the Riemann chart is, but here's a chart of the southern hemisphere sea ice area. and I guess up here is 79, and down there is 2005. This is the beginning of the year, the end of the year, and apparently this yellow line represents what is it, 16 million, I think it's square kilometers of ice. From the newamerican.com, with ice growing at both poles, global warming theories are imploding. This is in the southern hemisphere. The sea ice levels just smashed through the previous record highs across Antarctica, where there is now more ice than at any point since records began. They said this is an area covered by sea ice which we've never seen from space before, says a meteorologist. 35 years ago, the first satellites, when they went up, were telling them what area, two-dimensional area of sea ice was covered, and we've never seen that before, that much area. That is roughly double the size of the Antarctic continent and about 3 times the size of Australia, just to give you an idea. That's pretty freaking big. And of course, you'll have people go out in the news, like MSNBC and that, and try to say this is due to global warming, despite having predicted less ice, not more, as a result of alleged man-made global warming. Some alarmists have comically tried to blame the record ice on global warming. Moving on to this article from November 16th, 2014, 30-year cold spell strikes Earth, says climatologist. I've come across this before in the last couple of years. That's why I've mentioned about a coming mini ice age, and then someone mentioned this and asked me if I was aware of it, and I said yeah. But as far as the actual period of how long it is, they go on here and say that a former space shuttle engineer wrote a book called Dark Winter: How the Sun is Causing a 30-Year Cold Spell, which warns that a radical shift in global climate is underway and that Al Gore and other environmentalists have it completely wrong. And I'll try to get this video in for you in the last 5 minutes. He says trends indicate we could be heading for colder temperatures similar to those from the 1700s and 1800s when the sun went into a solar minimum, a phenomenon with significantly reduced solar activity, including solar flares and sunspots. All you have to do is trust natural cycles and follow the facts, and that leads you to the inevitable conclusion that the sun controls the climate and that a new cold era has begun. Dark Winter, the book, says that a 30-year period of cold has already begun. Frigid temperatures and the food shortages that inevitably result could lead to riots and chaos. He debunks the global warming orthodoxy in his new book, and he says the planet's oceans have been cooling, not warming, and since 2007 the atmospheric temperature has been cooling as well. He says there's been a steep drop-off since 2007 as far as cooling. It's the steepest drop in global temperatures in the last 100 years. Oh yeah, they say up here, so how can the media and scientific elites make a case for global warming when it's actually cooling? Well, they push this crap in most mainstream media, and yet there's people out there, scientists, who are saying no, the evidence is solid, like this guy said. I came across some other types of news articles in the last couple of years. Many of them were Russians. It says a Russian astrophysicist has argued that a new mini ice age has begun, though Casey doesn't go that far. If he's right, that could be very bad news. They said it could lead to food shortages, resulting in riots and chaos. This is the same point that I've made in these videos before. I remember specifically highlighting this point of what is, and I'm not the type of person that says, what's the government going to do for us? It's all about self-sufficiency and stuff, but overall, as far as the grid goes and ways to approach this, what has the government done? They have all of this ability to spend shit on debt and get charged interest and all that racket. But either way, if they're going to spend all this money, could they at least put it to something that's going to prepare for something like this type of scenario? And it says here that if this is right, that means the nation is busily preparing for the wrong calamity, talking about global warming. We don't have 10 years, Casey warns. We squandered during the President Obama's administration 8 years, and we didn't have 8 years to squander. The worst of the cooling cycle, as he predicts, will hit in the late 2020s and the early 2030s. And of course, food riots will break out, demand for heating oil will spike, and the failure of the corn crop will put the squeeze on ethanol. So no one really gives a shit about corn. As far as the other stuff goes, it all comes down to how do people handle it. They're just assuming that people are all just a bunch of cutthroats who don't know how to work together without some kind of centralized form of power. But that's why I embrace stuff like this, these types of scenarios. Yes, there will be a-holes that will go out there and do this stuff. The same people that you probably will bump into if you're out on Black Friday, pushing over old ladies for a flat screen TV for themselves. Screw those people, you know what I mean? But if you form a real community around this stuff, you'll be okay. Yeah, he even says that the French Revolution took place at the beginning of the last solar minimum in 1789, saying that climate changes will also affect human activity. So, bring it on, right? Let's get this party started.
International agreement of this scope supposedly would help there too.
Wouldn't we be a lot smarter, and the president be a lot smarter, if he was getting us ready for what you detail in your book, Dark Winter, and that is the fact that it's going to get colder. This is a global cooling issue that we're involved in here, and this is the sun that is involved. Wouldn't it be a lot smarter if we got ready for that?
Absolutely. I mean, the facts are pretty clear. There is no global warming yet. We've had no growth in global temperature whatsoever for 18 long years now. Now, that's a startling fact, but it's true. And what that means is for most of the time we've heard about man-made global warming, there hasn't been any.
Then why do we continue to hear the phrase global warming? Why does it exist?
There are two components to all of this: the politically correct version of climate change and the scientific, factual reality of climate change. They are not the same. They are diametrically opposed. By using the greenhouse gas theory since 1988, the U.S. and other nations around the world have been able to impose new regulations, new controls over people, their property, and the industrial base. When you do that using the greenhouse gas theory, you can get a lot of things done, including taxation, that you couldn't get done before. On the science side, however, the sun is the supreme ruler of climate, and it's doing something totally different.
Then why does science always lose in this PR battle to get the message out?
When it comes to power politics, the scientists have always lost. In this case, the scientists pushing CO2 have been tools for the political establishment to get their agenda going. And unfortunately, a lot of scientists have gone over to that side, the dark side of climate science, and instead of the bright side, the truthful, factual side, they're not telling the people the truth about what's happening with the sun, this potentially dangerous cold climate that's coming, which comes every 206 years. And unfortunately, the people are going to pay the price for this diametrically opposed climate situation.
Is it just a matter of being ignorant on the president's side, or just wanting to push something to make somebody else a couple of bucks?
Well, I can tell you from my perspective,
Please.
The president, since he began running, has been well informed of what's happening with the sun and this new cold climate. Clearly, a lot of people know what's going on. We all use the same satellites. We all observe the same sun. There's really not a lot of question about what's happening with the sun.
Hold that, want to scare people again, but we have to deal with some facts here. Are we then looking at, thanks to your book, Dark Winter, and other research regarding the sun, a period of revolution, war, famine, because of what we're going through right now, and we're not prepared?
If one studies history and goes back and look at every 206-year period when this solar hibernation, these cold eras arrive, you have to conclude that the same thing's going to repeat. What happens is typically the big hit is to the crops. Once the crops begin to get damaged by this record cold that's coming, people starve. People get riotous, angry. People talk about the war cycle also during these periods. Furthermore, the largest earthquakes and volcanic eruptions also occur at the bottom of these cold cycles.
Is there any idea as to when it would cease? This cycle that we're in right now, what are we looking at? With it 10, 20, 30 years of this? Where do we go?
We're looking at the 2030s, the late 2020s, 2030s being the worst, and then we start to warm up, but only moderately so in the 2040s. Well, I don't think we're ever going to see the kind of global warming we just left.
So yeah, this whole year I've been preparing my car and my home for for this winter. So just be prepared. Thank you.